Hi, good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me for another meeting of the Paris Science Group. We are a group of people that started in Paris to have some meetings about science. Then, when COVID-19 came and everybody was home, we started to do it on the web, which resulted in the group extending to cover almost 119 countries. So we cover all countries almost in the world and all continents. And our interest is covering biological science predominantly, which is the science of the body. How does the body work? And today is another lecture in a series under the title of How to Use Science to Understand Love. And we had a series of lectures before, and today is part 2 of a lecture under the title How to Succeed in Finding True Love. So with that, let's switch to the slides and let's begin talking. And the title I use is How to Succeed in Finding True Love. In other words, common facts and myths about true love. And my name is Fred Nour. I'm a neurologist. So I am a person who specializes in the study of the brain. And a better title is probably Why Did I Fail in Finding True Love? The chances are you are here today to listen to this lecture because you did not succeed in finding true love. If you have succeeded in finding true love, you will not have the time to spend on this lecture. You will be busy enjoying the true love that you have with your lover. Similar to if I give a talk about how to get rich, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos are not likely to come. They're already rich. They already know how to do that. So as a result, we expect people coming to a conference about how to make money are people that don't have money. People who come to how to succeed in finding true love have failed. And here we will look at the reasons for your failure to guide you to how to succeed. If you know how you failed, you can correct that, and that can make you more successful. In other words, that will help you answer the question, will I ever find love? And by love, we don't mean romance, we mean true love. Will you ever find it or not depends on your success in getting there. But before we begin, I want to make a disclaimer so you will all know from what point of view I'm coming. Because the group was essentially set to popularize or explain the facts that are hard signed, physically proven and measured. And that was related to the area of love and other areas. But there are some gaps in our knowledge that we had to fill using another branch of science called soft sciences. These are all the philosophy and the branches of philosophy. That's why doctors on these branches of science are given the title of PhD, stands for Doctor of Philosophy, meaning it's intellectual sciences. It's not measurable. It is relatively subjective perception of other things. So this lecture is actually a mix. So I say this part of the series is partially based on the scientific method, the proven method to study things objectively for finding the physical organic brain research. But it doesn't cover all of it because some areas are not studied by this method, so they are partially completed using philosophy. In other words, please keep in mind that these are subjective opinions by me or by other people. Subjective opinions meaning you can accept it, you can reject it, it's your choice, and either one is correct. There's no right and wrong in opinions. Everybody is entitled to opinion. Everybody should respect other people's opinion. Accept it or deny it is up to you. So with that in mind, let's look at a basic fact in life, which is to reach any goal in life, you have to succeed in all the steps leading to that goal. So if I'm in Paris, I want to go to Warsaw. In Poland, I have to succeed in getting out of France. I have to succeed in driving going through all of Germany. I have to succeed in entering Poland and have to succeed in driving all the way to Warsaw. If I fail in any of these steps, I will not succeed in getting to Warsaw. I will fail in my goal. It is exactly the same with true love. In order to find true love, you have to succeed in all the steps leading to true love. Steps to true love? What are you talking about? I thought love is just one event that will hit us one time and last for a lifetime. No, that's not true. Love is not. You meet someone and bang, you fall in love, and that feeling will last for a lifetime. This is a myth that's causing a lot of misery. Love happens in phases on steps. So an overview of these phases, I say first phase is mate selection. I have never ever met or heard of someone who is in love and ask him with whom, oh, I haven't chosen somebody else yet. No, impossible. First step in love, you have to choose someone. And we make the choice by two parts of the brain. One part we call the unconscious brain, the automatic brain. In general language, we call it my instinct. We can call it my heart because the heart is automatic and conscious. I cannot make my heart go faster. I cannot make my heart go slower. It happens automatically. It's like an instinct. Some people call it the chemistry. I saw somebody and I felt my unconscious brain accepted or rejected them, meaning there was chemistry, there was no chemistry. It's all different names that refer to the same thing. A system in the body where the unconscious automatic brain will select someone for you. After that, your conscious thinking brain. This is the brain that I'm using now to give you the lecture. This is the brain that you're using now to understand the lecture. But that's not the whole thing. It's only part of it. So we talked about that. We talked about the importance as well as the liability of just choosing someone by the conscious brain that is rejected by the unconscious brain. And we stress that again. And we talked about that before. Next phase, once you select a person, once the two parts of the brain consent and accept that person, you fall in a phase called romance or falling in love. The saddest part about that is we all got brainwashed by the media, by the romance novel, by all of that, that this is love and that this should last for a lifetime. The reality, it is not. It's simply a phase. In love, it happened for a reason, it has a purpose, it has benefits, it has liabilities, and it has to end. Usually, on an average, after 2 to 3 years, you will end falling in love, and you get another phase called falling out of love. This is a phase of love. It's not that love has failed. It is the next step. It has reason, it has purpose, it has benefits. Nature gives us that for a reason or a benefit that we have to understand. And if you survive falling out of love, and if you feel you have the right person with you, with time you grow into true love that should last you for a lifetime. So in other words, to find true love, you must succeed navigating all the phases. We talked last time about how to succeed in finding a mate using unconscious brain and using your conscious brain. Now you're successful, you are with the right person. What happened? You get into romance, falling in love. That also need to be managed. What? I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm on top of the world. What are there to manage? We'll talk about that, and later on we'll talk about succeeding in falling out of love, and finally succeeding in maintaining true love. So let's go back and see what we have covered so far about the how to use science to understand love. We had a presentation, part one, about an hour each one of them, was about mate selection by the unconscious brain. This is an image from the YouTube channel. You can find it from my name, Dr. Fred Nour. And you can see how the chemistry the instinct, the unconscious brain works. How does he feel she is the right woman, or how does she feel he is the right man? All the details of that, this is hard science, this is all physical, will be interesting to know. Part 2 talked about the conscious brain and how we use it to select a mate, as well as how not to use it to select a mate, meaning the rights and wrongs of using the conscious brain. And in my mind, this is very important because a lot of unhappiness happen to people that just use the conscious brain to select someone. After you select the person, you're going to have romance. So we spend about an hour talking about what happens in your brain, which chemicals are involved, what exactly they do, why do you feel what you feel when you are in romance, why did nature do it, what is the purpose, and why does it end? And it has to end. It has never lasted for a lifetime, as they falsely tell you, and never will. It has a reason. We explain that in details. If you haven't seen it, go back and see it. Next part, we talk about falling out of love. When it happens, why it happens, how it happens, what actually happens in your brain, as well as what are the benefits of that. Why did nature give us that? Did nature give us that to punish us or give it that for another reason? Once you're successful in managing that, you go to true love. And we talk about the chemicals in the brain responsible for true love, how they work, what effect they have on you, and how it can last you for a lifetime as opposed to romance. And we added next lecture about the effect of genes and love. A lot of love behavior between us depends on our genes, and our genes are not identical. We all look different, we all feel different, we all think different because our genes are different. In the same way, not all of us have the same ability of love, not all of us love to the same degree. And if you understand that, it's easier to understand and accept many things. Like we know because of gene, somebody is short 5 foot tall, somebody is tall 6 foot 4. It is because of the genes, and a wise person will realize that there's nothing he can do to make the 5 foot person become 6 foot 4 or to shrink the 6 foot person into 5 foot. That's the way it is based on your genes, and you have to accept it. So it's useful to understand how that works, to know what you have to accept and what you can change, as well as what you cannot change. The next conference, we talk about what love is and what love is not. A lot of things that are believed to be love has nothing to do with love. A lot of our beliefs about what love is a myth, is not real. So it's important to know exactly what we're talking about in love and what behavior and things that have nothing to do with love that you should not attribute whatever you feel, whatever your problems to that. The deviation from normal is a disease or abnormal. So you need to define in your mind the normal from the abnormal. Then we went last meeting, we talked about how to succeed in finding true love, how to jump the gap by finding the right person. And to talk a little bit again about last presentation, and I do that intentionally, even though it's there, for two reasons. Reason number one, to stress to you how important it is to choose the right person. If you don't choose the right person, you will never succeed. The second reason is we know in the medical profession that as I talk to you, you listen to what I'm thinking, then your mind wanders to other ideas. Oh, yes, this happened to me before with this person, that person. Oh, my sister had that. Your mind wanders, which results in the period of time I'm talking after that, you're not receiving what I'm saying. So they say people will retain between 1/3 and a maximum of 1/2 of what you say. The rest is missed because people change concentration thinking about other things. For that reason, I'll give you a brief summary of that for the second time, the details in the previous one, but just to give you an idea. So you cannot succeed finding the right mate because 70% of the time, it is you who is a problem. You cannot find someone because you have a problem yourself. And only 30% of the time it is because of the other person. I know the chances are 100% of you are totally convinced that you cannot find someone because of the other person. You are one of the 30%. This is normal human behavior, but the reality is not. And unless you find out what you do wrong, you'll never succeed. So let's look, what do we need to do to succeed in fixing the problem with yourself? We need two things: introspection and acceptance. Introspection is the ability to get out of yourself, turn around, and look at yourself objectively, see what you do correctly and what you don't do correctly. If you do something correctly, you want to do more of it. If you do something that people reject, you should stop it. Unfortunately, introspection is a little bit like comes in people naturally. If you don't have introspection, nobody can give it to you no matter what you do. So psychiatrists learn that if the patient does have introspection, don't waste your time with them, they'll never change. We're very fortunate last conference that at the end, during question and answer, a person came who beautifully illustrated lack of introspection. He kept talking and talking about irrelevant points that have nothing to do with that. He can see that people are laughing and giggling at what he's saying, but he doesn't have introspection. He cannot see that what I'm doing is not accepted by people. People are laughing. People keep telling him, stop, thank you very much, let somebody else talk. He can, because he has complete and total lack of introspection. He cannot see that what he's doing is not accepted. Then, oh, I better stop talking, or better change my logic, better do something else. No, I will keep going. It's not my fault, it's their fault. And that was a beautiful live example of lack of introspection. So, what kind of problem that can't be fixed with introspection? I said there's some that cannot be fixed, which are personality disorder. The person I talk to you about have a personality disorder. People don't accept what he say because it's not him, it's them. In psychiatry, they say that psychiatric patients are one of two types: neurotics, and they are those who blame themselves for everything that goes wrong with the world, and personality disorders who blame the world for everything that they do wrong. They can never do anything wrong, it's always the fault of somebody else or something else. That person beautifully illustrated a personality disorder, and sadly, that is non fixable. That person will be like this until the moment he dies. Immediately after death, they start to change because the brain starts to decay. But before that, there's no hope. So it was a beautiful living example who to avoid because they can never change. Other problems are fixable. You can do something about it. Single most common one is lack of time. A lot of us are very busy, working full time, having to raise kids, having to study for another degree, having a big house, a big apartment to clean, and they really don't have the time. But I want to find a maid. I can spend 3 hours with them every 2 weeks, and that will be good enough to find the right maid. Sad reality, no, that's not going to happen. Finding a maid is a very time and energy consuming process, and it needs time. So if you don't have time, don't waste your time, because nobody will want to be with you because they also have limited time. So to help you free some time, I recommend you do evaluate, make a list of how you spend your time, then look at the list and eliminate what you don't have to do right now. You're studying for a master's degree, maybe you can wait for another year or two until you find a good mate and you're happy with that. You're donating your time for church to teach the choir, whatever, maybe you can postpone that. You have to eliminate all the things that you do not absolutely have to do. Then concentrate. You make the list of what you have to do and give them a priority. I have to do that first. When I'm done, I'm going to move to that number two. So if I don't have enough time for all of them, the one that missed will be the least important. Another aspect of lack of time is wasting time on a dead-end relationship. Many people meet someone, they know it's a dead-end relationship, it will never succeed, but I don't know if they're lazy, what it is, they continue with the relationship and they never stop. As a result, they don't have time to meet somebody else. So they fail in selecting the correct mate, and the fault is in themselves. They are the problem. They should have the courage, they should have the strength, the determination to say that's not working, stop, thank you, goodbye, and I'm now without anybody. I'm lonely, but that's okay. When I find someone, it will be worth it. Another common problem is stress. Many of us are very stressed. Life is getting more complicated and as a result, more stressful. Nobody needs to be with somebody else who is stressed. And don't think that nobody will know that you're stressed. Everybody will know. So, if you're stressed, you have to work on the stress. You are the problem because of your stress. When you're unstressed, happy, you're going to find somebody who wants to be happy with you. Nobody will want to be stressed by you. Other fixable problem, negative feeling from previous relationship. You had a previous relationship that went badly. You don't have to punish the new potential partner for what the old one did. It's like a judge getting a person and oh, last case, the person was a murderer, then you are a murderer automatically. It's not fair. You have to start fresh with everybody. Fixing your parents' problem in your own life. Many of us are guilty about that. They think my parents were not happy because of this or that. I'm not going to do the same and that will give me happiness. Remember that you are different from your parents. You have different genes. You have different life. You're going to have different problems. So focus on your problems and forget about your parents' problem. Another group of people where they have the problem and they are very difficult are perfectionists. Perfectionists are very good in seeing defects, but not seeing positive. You show them something that's 95% perfect and 5% not perfect, they can only see the 5%. Look, this is not that. Look, this is not this. That's all they can see. And as a result, they're very difficult for them to find someone because of their perfectionism. And sometimes difficult for the people to meet this unrealistic perfection demands. Nobody can ever be perfect all the time. So if you are a perfectionist, you have to work on that. Another problem is unrealistic expectation. Everyone has an image of the perfect person that you want, but you have to be fair and reasonable in that. This woman here works as a cashier in a supermarket. So she doesn't have much education. She's acceptable, maybe. And when you ask her what kind of man you're looking for, she says, I want someone who looks like this. And a CEO of a company. He's very smart, and he goes, why would somebody like that choose you? There are many other women that are more beautiful, more intelligent, more educated, more successful than you. Why should you do that? Because that's what I want. And then she meets people, reject them because they don't meet the image until she reaches age 80 or 85. Then we realize, oh, well, it looks like it's too late now. I never fulfilled my dream. So that was introspection, looking at what you do wrong, what is unreasonable to change it. Then there's acceptance. Acceptance is to accept what you cannot change. I want to go for a walk in Paris now. It's thunder and raining. It's wet. I cannot go, or I can go with an umbrella. But I cannot go suntanning. You have to accept that. It's reality. I cannot change it. So, what acceptance do we need to do? Number one, you have to accept that whoever you selected, after all this effort, you selected a mismatching person. There are no two people on the face of this earth that have exactly the same genes, which means any other person you find will have a lot of things in common with you, but must have other things that are not. He's not an exact match. He cannot be an exact match. There's only one exact match for you in this world, and that's you. So if you find the perfect mate, that's an exact match for you. Let's say you buy a mirror and you look at it all the time when you need to speak to someone. Okay, so you know that not every person is not a perfect match. Another big problem, which happened, actually getting a little bit better, was particularly a problem in the days of women lib. They did a lot of fake studies to try to convince everybody that the brain of the man and the women are exactly the same, the emotion is the same. Everything is the same except in the shape of the external genitalia, and that's it. And sadly, a lot of people are naive enough to believe that. And when they see a gender difference, they believe like there's a defect, there's a personality error mistaken the other person. Why did the woman get emotional the week before her period? There's something wrong with her. This is not a normal woman. Or why did the man doesn't pay attention to this and that? There's something wrong with him. In reality, the man have a Y chromosome that the woman doesn't. That chromosome have millions of code that do thousands of things in the brain. It results in two different brains. Luckily, more and more people are accepting that. But you have to keep it in mind, especially you're a little bit older like myself, and you grow up in the time of the women's lib. You have to erase all of that out of your mind and accept that. You are a woman, you will have different feelings from the man. I am a man, I have different feelings from the woman. I cannot understand it. I don't need to understand it. I need to accept it, that this is the reality, that's it. Avoid overrating people. I see somebody coughed twice, oh my God, he has tuberculosis. He did this, oh my God, he has cancer, and so on. Give people a fair chance, don't jump to conclusion. And you have to take risk. Nothing in life is guaranteed. If you want to have life with no risk, you will have no life. So you have to take risk. Well, he is good or she is good 90%, but not 100%. Maybe that 10% will be enough to break the relationship or not. You have to give it a try. You have to go and do it. Courage comes from the conscious brain and it takes more energy. Fear comes from the limbic brain and it is automatic instinct, uses less energy. So it is more difficult to have courage than to submit to fear, but it is important to tell yourself, I know there is risk, I have to take the risk. Unless I take the risk and I succeed, I'll never succeed in anything. So I say always take chances, even if you're not sure. Another thing that's sometimes a problem is you have to accept that you're separate from the other person. You have to accept that there are periods of time when they want to do things that you don't like doing. The periods of time when you want to do things they don't like to be doing. And don't think this is a rejection or this is a defect in the relationship or this is not a good match. He likes to paint, you find painting boring. You like to play the piano, he feels it gives him a headache and boring. He can go paint while he go and play the piano, and it is fine. You're two separate people, two separate brains, two separate genes. You're not an exactly matching person, so you should rejoice in the difference, not resent. Okay, case example about the problem when your partner is the problem. I talk about the tomatoes in the market. If you go to the market early, you find a lot of good tomatoes. If you go late, you don't find any at all. Not because the tomatoes got bad so quickly, but because the good tomatoes are picked up by people earlier. So when you go late, it is hard to find good tomatoes. The same for us looking for a mate. The older we get, the smaller the supply of good people, the more difficult it is. You have to accept that as a reality. You have to adapt to that by lowering your expectation to some extent. Big biological intellectual difference could be a big problem, and it could be your partner because they're so different from you. The biggest one that most people don't realize that causes a large number of failed relationships is the big difference in the sex drive. Sex drive is genetically determined, and we're not all the same. There's a whole wide spectrum where most people are near the middle, but a lot of people near the low end of the sexual drive and other near the high end of the sex drive. If you match someone from the low end with the high end, both of them will be unhappy to the end and the relationship will not succeed. And it is either you are the problem or he is the problem. I put it what that he is the problem, he doesn't match you, and you cannot force yourself to do that. It is biological. He is 5 foot tall, he is 6'4". You're going to continue to be a 6'4", he's going to continue to be 5. So if there's a big difference, goodbye. Small difference can be gap. That's why I have the word big underlined. Only big difference. Minor things possible. Big difference in athleticism. Some people enjoy exercising, some people hate it. So if there's a big difference between the two, that could be the problem. Big difference in culture. Every culture brainwash you to expect your mate to do certain things. And it's not the same in all cultures. So in some cultures, what is expected is considered rude and bad in another culture. So you have to keep that in mind. If there's a big difference in culture and you cannot adapt to the other side, or the other side cannot adapt to you, it might not work out. But it's one of the things that with understanding, education, asking people, and so on, you can make it better. But you have to be aware of it. Financial management, some people are very tight with money, some people are big spenders. When you put two together with big difference, it's always a problem. Both of them are unhappy. IQ, big IQ difference could also be a problem. The high IQ person gets tired of explaining to the other one. The low IQ person feels the other one is complicating everything and making everything so deep and thoughtful and this and that and so on. So the big gap could be a problem. Political worldview could be a problem if it is not close or could be a film. I am a capitalist. Difficult for me to be with a communist. I just don't believe in that. We'll never agree on our view of the world and of life and what man needs and this and that at all. So that could be a problem. And I say it could be your partner because he's not communist like you or because he's not capitalist like you. You have to find one that match. So that is again repeating about mate selection. Let's assume you find the perfect mate now. Now, why can't I find true love? You're not done yet. You selected the mate. Now you started to fall in love. Romance. This is wonderful. This is good. Do I need to manage it to be successful? I say yes. Talk about this later on. What there to manage? I am on top of the world. I'm ultimately happy, joyful. Everything is wonderful. What is there to do? I say no. Let me give you a case example that happened to me when I was a resident, and it got me interested in the field, understanding the field, at least having a different perception of view of romance. I was a neurology resident, and there was another woman resident that used to come. We meet every day as we do the rounds. And one day she comes in, very euphoric and happy, on top of the world. And someone asked, "What's the matter with you today? You smiling ear to ear and all of that." "Oh, I met someone yesterday and I fell in love." I remember saying, "Oh my God, yesterday you're not in love, today you're in love." "Oh yes, I went to a party, I opened the door and my eye fell on that man and I felt he is the one I'm looking for. I walked in the party, gave a space for him so he can come and stand or sit next to me so we can talk. We talk 15, 20 minutes later, we are in love and I'm so happy." And wow, that's very impressive how quickly people fall in love, but it happens. We all know about love at first sight, nothing unusual. Okay, good, good, good. And then later on, Christmas comes and we have a department Christmas party, and everybody brings someone with them. So she goes with this man, and another resident with me goes to see them, say hi, introduce them to his girlfriend or his wife, who's his girlfriend, and want to strike a conversation with the guy. So he asks him, "Which college did you go to?" So they can say, "Oh, my college football team beat your college football team. Oh, your college is famous for this, we're famous for that," and so on. But he was shocked to find out the guy has only high school education and he only works as a warehouse manager. Our colleague was a medical subspecialist. That means she went to 4 years of college to do pre-medical school education, 4 years of medical school, then she did 4 years of residency and was doing 2 years of fellowship. So that's 14 years of education more than him. That's a big gap. We felt there's something wrong. How could she be selecting that person with that much difference in job, potential income, as well as in education? Which is okay, we just talk to her, help her to see reality. And we talk to her, and she said, "No, no, 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 doesn't matter. Haven't you heard it before? Love can change everything. Love conquers all. Because we have love, all that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters to us now is that we are in love. I thought that maybe he was big, good-looking, muscular guy. She was from South America. They're like macho men. I thought maybe that's it. Never mind. Not our business. Leave it alone. A few months later, we discovered that he got fired from his job because somebody told the warehouse manager, the owner, that he has criminal records. And we were shocked. We thought she doesn't know. She knows. My God, you are with a man who has been in and out of jail multiple times. You know it? Yes, it doesn't matter. That was before our love. Now that we're in love, all that will change. I think to myself, how could that change? The guy has been a criminal all his life, never was interested in doing anything useful or remarkable. How could you be in love with that? That made me to realize that William Shakespeare was right. You know, he said, love is a mere madness. Love is purely madness. But is it true? Well, it could be. Some manifestation of love can cause problems. Some manifestation of love cannot be a problem. So, what are the manifestations that are not problematic of love? Number one, you're free, you're happy, you're ecstatic, you're on top of the world. No harm can come out of that. Enjoy it as long as it lasts. They tell you you're going to last forever. If you believe that, wait for it to last forever. If you don't, at least you're at peace when you're happy. No problem. Holding every little piece of paper, every message, everything is so valuable. I have to keep it, I have to store it. It's okay, no harm. As long as you have enough storage in your house or your apartment, and as long as you don't turn it all into junk like schizophrenics do, that's okay. You can keep that. No harm is done. Hypervigilance. You pay attention, everything they do, everything they say, every person they come close to. It's okay. It causes no harm. You pay attention to them, that's good. People enjoy that. Enhanced memory. You remember everything in details. In our first date, we went to that restaurant, we have eaten that, I was wearing this, he was wearing that, and you remember the very fine details. What about a month ago? You went for dinner, where did you go? Oh, I don't remember. So things associated with deep emotions are always engraved in your memory for a long time. And again, no harm is done from that. Insomnia, you can lie in bed thinking about your loved ones. Oh my God, he's wonderful or she's wonderful, or we did this and that. No harm is done because sleep is very powerful that eventually go to sleep and nobody ever got sick, went to the hospital or had any treatment because they couldn't sleep. So could be okay. No harm is done from that. Another thing called sympathetic stimulation. You activate the fight and flight system that causes you to have a rapid heartbeat when you see your beloved. Oh, here she is, or she is. Your heart goes boom, 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 boom. That is because, or that is the reason why we believe that love comes from the heart. We thought that the heart can see the beloved. In reality, love comes from the brain. The brain is the one who saw the mate. The brain is the one that got excited. The brain is the one that sent the signal down for the heart to beat faster. But nobody ever had a heart attack or died because they saw their beloved and heart beat fast. So it's not harmful. Some people feel shaky in the same situation from the sympathetic stimulation. Some people sweat. Some people dilate their pupils. But all of that is not harmful. That's okay. But there are other manifestations of romance that are problematic, that could be harmful. And these are the ones that you have to manage or you have to keep in mind. Most serious one is delusions. What is delusion? Psychiatrists define delusion as a fixed false belief. I believe you believe in something. You believe you're Napoleon Bonaparte, you believe whatever. False is not true. You believe that you are Napoleon Bonaparte, but you're not. Now, what does fixed mean? Fixed meaning cannot be changed. No matter what you do, you cannot. So you take the man who believes he's Napoleon Bonaparte, you sit him down for 12 hours a day to explain to him why he's not Napoleon Bonaparte. You keep doing it for 10 years. At the end of the 10 years, somebody goes and asks him, who are you? is fixed false belief. I am Napoleon Bonaparte. What about this guy that has been talking to you all day for 12 years or 10 years? What? Guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It is fixed. It cannot be changed. They taught us in medical school when you meet someone who sees elephants running in the room, you don't try to convince him that there are no elephants running in the room. First thing, yes, there are elephants running in the room. What are we going to do about the elephant? What is the best solution? And so on. So this is delusion. The doctor that I described to you was beautifully showing delusion, fixed false belief. She believed that the criminal guy that has been in and out of jail so many times, that never want to study to do anything, will somehow magically change because of love and will be a wonderful, totally successful, perfect human being. It's a delusion. It's not reality. It's not going to happen, never will. But she doesn't perceive that. We talk to her multiple times, and every time she gets very defensive and say we don't know what we're talking about. She knows that this is the truth. That could be a problem. Another one is paranoia. Some people, when in love, they become suspicious and paranoid. As we are in Paris, and as the most popular opera in Paris is Carmen, I'll use the story of Carmen. Carmen met Dan Jose, fell in love with him first, and it took him few time to see her, then they fell in love. Then she fell out of love and found somebody else. He was still in love, he was still in romance, still having the chemical to give him paranoia, tried to get her to leave the other man. When she refused, he did what? He killed her. It could be serious. Some people have committed murders or injured another person out of paranoia because of the chemicals in romance. I know a girl told me that she was dating a guy, and the guy was a little bit jealous all the time. And one time they go to downtown Chicago, the main street, similar to Champs-Élysées here. It's called Michigan Avenue. And while she's walking next to him, she sees another guy coming, looking at her, smiling. She smiles, hugs him, and kisses him on the cheek from one side to the other one. Oh my God, I can't believe seeing you. The boyfriend gets very jealous and goes and hits the other guy. And then she gets split. Why are you doing that? This is my cousin. I haven't seen him for 10 years. I didn't know he's coming to Chicago. We met by accident. I'm excited to see him. He's excited to see me. Why are you jealous of my cousin? Why did you cause him harm? Because he could not manage his paranoia. He should have realized earlier that he is unusually paranoid and could have done something about it. So it needs to be managed or can be disastrous. Another one is obsession. Obsession is false thinking. I shouldn't be thinking about him, but he keeps thinking about him. I should be thinking about her, but he keeps thinking about her. It's a problem if it impairs your work, where you're not able to concentrate and produce as usual, especially if you do intellectual work like accountants, lawyers, doctors to some extent, and could also affect your school studying if you're a student. You're not able to concentrate on what you're reading, your mind keeps drifting back and forth. So it could be a problem that needs to be managed. So this is one of the manifestations of romance that could be a problem. Another one of compulsion is doing things against your will. I should not text him, but you send him a text every 5 minutes, a beating heart, a smiling face, a wink. He is in a meeting giving a presentation, and he keeps sending him a message every 10 minutes, which can upset him and can make him feel rejected and so on. So sometimes could be a problem, not usually for the person who is having compulsion, but for the other side. But that is a manifestation that can need management. Illusion is false perception. You see the woman and you think she looks exactly like St. Mary in all the beautiful Italian paintings with the perfect eye, nose, mouth, everything is perfect, which is typical okay with romance. The problem is when romance ends, usually shocked, oh my God, look at her. Her nose is bigger than her face. How come I never saw that before? And then you get very upset during falling out of love and you can have big reaction to that. So illusion can be a problem. Maybe not at the time, but later on. So there are aspects of romance that could be a problem that need to be managed. So how do we do that? It's not black and white. So I can give you some ideas that are my own. You can accept them, reject them, can come up with other ideas. Most important one in my mind, to realize that you are in a romance and that you cannot be objective. I'm in love. I have monoamines in my brain. I cannot judge things correctly. I cannot see things correctly. I cannot feel things correctly. It is because of that. So maybe I should consider that in my evaluation rather than be adamant. The doctor I told you about eventually fell out of love, left the man, met another man later on, and she was aware that last time I wasn't able to perceive reality. This time I'm going to take him to my family and friends and see what they think objectively. So you better ask others that you trust for an honest, objective opinion about your mate. To tell them that I know I'm in a romance, I know I have chemicals that alter my perception. I would like to have your honest answer. And typically, when they tell you you refuse to accept it, they're wrong. But try to listen. Just try to say, okay, I am in this phase. It's not real. Maybe they're telling me the truth. Maybe I should consider it. I hope you listen to that and you do that so you don't get yourself like the doctor I told you about. Another advice which I give to my own daughter is avoid having children during the romantic phase of love, during the 2 or 3 years. Many times you feel so happy, convinced this is going to last for a lifetime, you're going to have 1 or 2 kids, then you fall out of love, you see the reality of your mate, you're like the doctor is totally a mismatch, end up having divorce, and the kids suffer because of that. They go with one parent or the other, and in my opinion, it's not fair for the children. So it might be wise for you to wait until you finish romance, you finish falling out of love, you see reality, and based on that, you're in a better position to make a decision to have children or not, so they will have a parent to stay with them for a lifetime. So to keep going with it to succeed, you have to do the mate selection correctly, find the right mate, manage romance, and did not cause yourself harm, didn't kill somebody, or do all of that. And now, after 2 years or 3 years, romance ended and we became in falling out of love. How do we manage that? And let me explain it to you by an example. Talk about two women. One woman, unfortunately, she was ignorant. She was pregnant and was going in labor. Why she was ignorant? She had no idea what happened in the pregnancy that leads to having a baby. She was always told that you meet someone, it makes you pregnant, and that pregnancy will last for a lifetime, will never change. You will have the joy and the happiness, feeling the baby is moving and kicking, and that's it. Nothing else should happen. And then after 9 months, something terrible happened to her that shocks her. She never heard about it before. She gets in labor, it's very painful. She didn't know it, didn't expect it. She couldn't accept it. No, something is wrong with this pregnancy. I'm going to abort that baby. I'm going to go again, get pregnant by somebody else. And she does that. 9 months later, the same labor happens. Decide to abort that baby. Keep going like this. She can do it for 100 years. She'll never have a baby. Why? Because she doesn't know that the pregnancy will only last for 9 months. After that, it has to end and it must end. After that, you go through a period of pain called labor, and it has to happen, but it always ends. And after you survive that, you will have your baby that will last with you for a lifetime. Similar to love. First, getting pregnant is like meeting someone. 9 months of pregnancy is like romance. Labor is like the pain of falling out of love. It has to happen. It always happens. It will take a time and it will end. And after falling out of love, you have the most wonderful experience of true love. But you have to survive labor. You have to accept labor. You have to tolerate labor to do that. We compare her to the educated pregnant woman in labor. She knows that she is going to get pregnant. The pregnancy will last 9 months, and no matter what, it's going to end. It has to end. It will end. It ended in everybody. So the romance has to end. Then she entered labor in pain. Romance will be followed by falling out of love. It's painful. But labor has a reason. Labor has a benefit. Yes, pain is one of its manifestations, but there are many other manifestations. All the hormones that are released that cause the mother to bond to the baby later on happen during that phase. So, in spite of the pain of the labor, there's so much love being enhanced and built between her and that baby. And she knows that that pain of labor is going to end, which make it easier for her to accept tolerating the pain, to have the patience to wait, knowing that at the end, I'm going to hold in my hand this wonderful baby that I will continue to love him for a lifetime. Okay, so with that, let's see how do we manage falling out of love. Managing means that you accept that it must happen and that it did happen. Like the woman in labor, I knew that the time will come. Now it happened. I'm in pain because that is a normal phase. Falling out of love must happen. It happened to me now. So now I am without the monoamine, the chemical that will causing this illusion, delusion, and all this feeling. Now my head is clear. Now I can see a reality. Nature gave us falling out of love for that reason. So you become like the doctor I told you about. When she fell out of love, she realized that she is with a guy who is basically a thief, keeps getting caught, and more times than not caught. He will continue to cheat and steal for the rest of his life, and he is no match for her. So with the reality, she was able to make the decision to tell him goodbye. Or the reality, she could say, well, he's a wonderful person. This is really not true, and want to stay with him. So you also have to accept that you have chosen a partially wrong mate. When you look at your mate in reality, you also have to accept there are certain things about them that are not perfect, but you're not perfect yourself. So you have to match the two and accept that. And benefit from the benefit of falling out of love. I repeat myself again and say that is, now you have reality. You can tell whether you selected the correct mate, which means you continue and wait for true love to come, or you selected a bad mate that's not good for you. The outcome will be a disaster. And it's time for you to do like the ignorant woman, have an abortion, end that pregnancy, and go back to get pregnant again by somebody else. You selected the bad mate, do like this doctor telling him goodbye, wait, find somebody else, manage that, manage romance by taking him to a lot of friends and family to make it okay, fell out of love, but she knew that's going to happen, that felt he was the right decision, stayed, and eventually reached the last phase. So made selection successfully, romance successfully, managed falling out of love, now we are in true love. Is it all finished? Actually, no. Even true love needs management. It is true that with true love, you go from this phase of romance, happiness, ecstasy, to this phase, what I call true love. An old man who takes his wife on a sunny day in southern France because she wants to go swimming, he takes his cane and her cane and hold her hand to take her there. That is true love. It took a long time to happen, but it happened, it will last. If she's sick at the hospital, as a doctor, see, he will be there every day from the morning to the night, never get tired or give up. These people here, sadly, if she's sick in the hospital, it takes a little bit too long. You tell her, thank you, goodbye, I found somebody else, I'm going to get married to somebody else. Another image of true love is this. Took years, but now they are together, will continue to be together. That should be your goal, but that's not easy, still need to be managed. But what's there to manage? The fact that non-peptides are chemical that last in your brain a lot longer than monoamines. So romance is easy to lose, but true love is not as easy to lose. But these chemicals, like all chemicals in our body, don't last forever. They last a period of time, then they wear out. After 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, they wear out. As a result, you start to lose them. So in order to keep true love going, you have to replace the worn out chemicals with new chemicals. In other words, to keep it going, we have to keep releasing new nonapeptides in our brain, so the old ones are replaced with new ones. And if you release more, then the bonding, the true love gets stronger and stronger and better and better. So what makes us do that? When I was a neurologist, I was dealing with diseases that dramatically alter people's life. A man who is going to work and driving his car and going out and doing this and that gets in a car accident, becomes paraplegic. His life has been dramatically altered. He can no longer walk, he is always in a wheelchair, and so on. It will also alter the life of the family, his wife and his children. And this has a dramatic impact in all the relationship together. I was busy with the technical aspect of the care, what tests they need, what medication, and this and that. Did not have enough time to dedicate to the other aspect. So I hired a nurse in charge of talking to people, finding out their emotional needs. And that included many couples that are married. And she was an exceptional nurse because actually she has applied to medical school and had the intelligence and the ability to be a doctor. But then she decided that no, I want to get married, have children, stay at home and raise the children. Raising children is more fun for me than going to medical school. It's 12 years extra training, nursing 3 or 4 years, so she switched to nursing. But she's very capable. So she started to talk to people and so on and come and tell me, oh, this couple is going to stay together to the end. This couple will be divorced in 3 months. This couple will probably last for a year at most, and so on. And then later I found that she is almost correct. She wasn't just guessing, but it was to be a very reliable. Every time she predict couple to stay together, they do for years and years. Every time she expected them to break, they break. So I had to stop and ask her, Lynn, how do you know who's going to stay together and who's not? Said different factors. The second most important factor was intimacy. What is intimacy? Intimacy meaning you hold hands together, like we saw the last two old people putting arm around here. You hug, you cuddle, you sleep in bed with your wife sleeping in your shoulder. As you sleep in your shoulder, feel good about that. As opposed to those that don't have intimacy, they never hold hand, they never touch, they never kiss. They sleep each one at the far end of the bed, and they build between them a big wall of pillows so nobody touches the other one. There's no intimacy. And she felt that sexual intercourse is part of intimacy. Those that have good sex life, they're happy with it, tend to do a lot better than the others. So she said the most important intimacy. Couple that were intimate before will stay together. Couple that were not intimate before, they will break. And she was pretty consistent with that. So intimacy is very important. And that's why all culture use the same word, making love, faire l'amour in French. Because having sex is actually releasing nonapeptide that causes true love. You are making love by doing that. It's not the purpose of love, but is one of the feedback cycle where love stimulate your sex desire, will get you release chemicals, and so on. So that is important. Introspection. You still, even though you are true love, have introspection because you can never be a perfect human being. You can always look and see what I did wrong that could be improved. And that improved should be eternal. You should always looking for things to improve, looking for things that are going well that you want to do more of it. So it is extremely important. Courage. Still, you've been married, you're in love, you want to try things that might enhance the relationship, might hurt it. You don't know. You have to have the courage to try it. If it succeeds, wonderful. If not, at least I tried. You always had a long hair, and you think, why don't I cut my hair short? But what if he doesn't like it? What if I don't look good? Well, you have to have the courage to try it. If it's successful, you're happy, is happy. If it's not, I'm sorry, I'll wait for it to grow long again, and that's it. But you have to have the courage to take risk. If you're unable to take a risk, you will never succeed, you never enhance and keep your love going forever. So what help you release nonapeptides is also cooperation. Some people think if somebody tell me to do something, I do it, it's weakness on my part, they are controlling me. I talked about the patient that come to my office. We have a routine paperwork. She doesn't want to complete it. We need her insurance information. No, she's not going to give us that. Are you going to pay for service? No, I'm not going to pay for that. She's very uncooperative. And in her mind, she thinks she's a stronger person. In reality, it's not. Nobody likes to be battling with somebody all the time. A strong person will not be afraid of cooperating with another one, will happily go and do what the other one wants without feeling that their security is threatened, that they're inferior, they're being controlled. Uncooperative people, I always believe, have some sort of inferiority complex. I'm not good enough, I'm going to prove it by resisting or disagreeing. So cooperation is very important. Another one is discipline. Discipline comes from the new brain. Discipline is a conscious effort. It's energy consuming. It is difficult. And it's particularly a problem, discipline, when it comes to sexual temptation by the other sex. Sexual temptation comes from the limbic brain that has the sex center and is very powerful. It can overwhelm the thinking brain and force you to do a lot of things that logically you know you should not do. Stop and think about all the famous president, vice president, very successful rich people that completely and totally destroyed their life because of lack of discipline and control on their sexual urges. As physicians, we run that risk, and if a doctor ever has sex with one patient, he's banned from practicing medicine worldwide. No nation on the earth will allow that. So they teach us how to avoid that. And they say if you wait until you're sexually aroused, it's going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible. So the time to act is always before you reach that. When you get the idea that somebody is trying to seduce you, thank you, goodbye, and you have to leave, you have to end that situation. If you stay and they succeed, you are in trouble. So in order to succeed for true love, you have to have discipline. Many people are having true love for another partner, but because of lack of discipline, they get involved with other people, and as a result, they destroy the love and the relationship. So discipline is very important. Most important point to make is to run and escape quickly and don't wait too long. Trust is also very important. You have to trust your partner, otherwise you cannot love them. We know that schizophrenic, if they don't trust their partner, they can never love them. The chemicals for trust tend to have different effects. And true love gives you trust, and trust gives you true love. So when you love someone, you automatically trust them. And when you trust someone, you automatically love them more. So you have to work on trust. Best way to get trust is to earn it. Trust is not something that you can force somebody to do, and you earn it by always telling the truth. Whether it's ugly or beautiful, you always tell the truth. Whether people like it or not, you always tell the truth. As a physician, if you have cancer, you're going to die in 1 year. I have to tell you the truth. You're unhappy, you're mad, you're depressed. Yes, sorry for that, but it is the truth. If I don't, the next time you have nothing, until you have nothing, you're not going to believe me, you're going to be stressed. So we earn the trust of the people by always being truthful. So always be truthful, and that will give you trust. And finally, accept that you and the other person are two separate people, that you have to allow some time when you are two separate, doing separate things, enjoying what you are doing separately and happily. He wants to go and paint, you want to go and play the piano, okay, let him go and you go. You both have happiness in that. Don't expect that if someone loves you, he's going to be with you all the time, which is going to be with you all the time, and the other way around. Okay, I'm going to stop here to take some questions and answer. This is the book that I wrote. I wrote multiple books, but this is the only one available. And We don't like to record question and answer because some people apparently didn't like that. So we will stop here. Let me stop sharing and go and end the lecture here. Thank you very much, and we'll have another lecture to continue this series later on. Good night. Bye-bye.